Homage to the Buddha, the Blessed, Noble, and fully self-enlightened one. Just to say a few more words about what we were talking about. Oh yeah, sorry, I'll start again. Come in, chat. Okay. Just to reinforce something I said earlier. I knew somebody who had been a nun for a very long time, and she left the order, and a few years later had a very severe grief, and she went to a type of therapy called focusing. So when I met her, I said, why did you have to go to therapy? I said, surely the Vipassana, if you know, would have helped you through that process. And she said that, well, really, they were only taught or reinforced to see impermanence and not self. They were only taught to see impermanence and not self. Now, I can't remember who the author was, but he called it emotional bypassing. You know, when a road goes round. So you have to be quite careful. When an emotion comes up, remember your first position is to distance yourself from it. And if you use a noting word, that really helps. So you say anxiety, anxiety, you see. And then you note your reaction. And you stay right there, see, observing that connection. So sometimes you might be more aware of your aversion, wanting not to see it. But you have to be patient, you have to wait till this reaction dies away. Now, this is undermining a habit we have of not bearing with suffering. So we're actually growing in patience.
Quindi growing in patience.
In patience. In patience. See? Now, when that's gone, you see, the meditator might then be so distant that they observe the impermanent process, the transient process. And you might also be very clearly aware of the separation of the knowing from the known. Is everybody with me there? If you're not certain, don't worry. This clarity will come in time. So then you see, by doing that, you're not actually intimately feeling the emotional state. And that means that the heart cannot express its turbulence. Yes. So you say, not me, not mine, you see. But once that position is stabilized, then you go into that feeling even faster. Because we are in a way saying to the heart, what do you want to say to me? And remember, the heart speaks in feelings. So if that happens and it's overwhelming, then you just stop the meditation. You can go for a little walk or something.
Piccola camminata.
Sometimes for a beginner, this can be quite shocking. And they run for it. So this is a shame. Because then this person has in mind a certain fear of the meditation. And so they tend not to go there again. So if something comes up very violently for you, some fear, some great grief, just relax, you know, take a little walk. And you can always approach one of us, you see. You can always approach one of us for comfort. Okay, enough. So this evening, it's really an opportunity to investigate these factors of enlightenment and the spiritual faculties. So now these spiritual faculties are what you might say are your basic ground of the spiritual life. So the first one is confidence. And then there's concentration, awareness, effort and wisdom or insight. So your spiritual life has to have these 5 basic qualities. Now, some of these are included in the 7 factors of enlightenment. And they run with awareness first, and then they run in pairs, the one balancing the other. There's concentration and effort.
They are in balance with energy and concentration and...
That's right. Yes. That's right.
Sforzo, energia, dipende.
Sforzo, sì. And then there's interest and calmness. Yes, sometimes you find the word joy translated, this word piti translated as joy.
Gioia.
But it's the joy of curiosity. And then there's investigation with equanimity. So if we go back to the beginning now and recognize the importance of confidence. All these qualities really are to do with ordinary daily life. But when we turn them towards investigating the Dharma, then they become ways in which they have a spiritual meaning. So confidence is necessary in anything we undertake. You know, even in a relationship, if you don't have confidence in the other person, then you don't commit. If you don't have confidence in yourself to do the work that you've applied for, then you won't take it. So somehow we have to raise this confidence. And one part is intellectual. No. When most of you heard about Buddhism and it drew your interest, either Buddhism or meditation or something, and then as you read about it, this knowledge becomes your own personal intellectual knowledge. But it really isn't a profound knowledge until you've experienced it for yourself. So it's through this meditation that the faith becomes, the confidence becomes more strong. And when we have an insight, a deep insight, which we call entering the path and entering the stream, then this confidence becomes unshakable because you've experienced what the Buddha experienced. You can't deny your experience. Only in certain circumstances where somebody's holding a gun to your head, in which case you might lack the courage. But inside of you, the confidence will be unshakable. So there's a relationship there. The other side is, of course, the heart, some sort of connection with a devotional practice. This is not absolutely necessary for some people, but recollecting the life of the Buddha, etc., connects your heart with the tradition. When we do the bowing in the morning, you see, that's a way of committing the heart, you see. So that gives a little bit of juice to the practice. So these two work off each other, the confidence and the knowledge and the understanding and the devotion. Faith, knowledge, and devotion. They feed each other. And
faith.
Now this understanding. There's a word panya, which refers both to wisdom, both to the active side of insight. And when this is activated, the insight is activated, remember, this also feeds back into our confidence. When this intuitive grasp of things on the faith, confidence. So, and this is true also of the teacher. A relationship that we have with our teachers. So it's never one of just blind belief. It's a case of taking the instructions and trying them. If they don't work, find another teacher. but you have to give them a chance. And then there's yourself, of course. That's often a place where we lack confidence. So this is overcome by just accepting where we are. If you compare yourself with others, it's a disaster.
No, it's true.
Everybody sits more quietly, more still, longer. So abandon comparison. So that this connects these three things: the confidence, the understanding and devotion, and the insight we get in vipassana. Understanding and the insight,
l'insight,
which is the process of the spiritual, of the 7 factors of enlightenment. So when we're sitting like this quality of curiosity has to be really quite heightened. It has to be very bright, and you can raise that. You see, raise the interest in it. So, for instance, if you were to say to somebody, "I've been sitting watching my breath," they might think, "Well, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of." And even we ourselves begin to get bored. So where does this boredom come from? So it's coming from some idea that we should be seeing something. So be careful when you're watching the breath and you're getting bored. Turn your attention towards the boredom, and then come back to the breath, and really keep asking the question: am I seeing this as it really is? Remember that the mind is always creating a conceptual universe for us. It's always connecting things, putting things together. Whereas our process is to deconstruct, to pull it apart. So when you're watching the breath, there are 3 things there. First of all, you can see that you have some idea in your head as to where the breath is. You have a picture of your abdomen. And then we have the idea that something is rising and falling. So these 2 are being manufactured by the mind, which gives us a sense of place or space and time. So this is a mental concoction. So how do we get right down to the direct perception of the breath, of the sensations of the breath? It's by continuously focusing in right there on the center of the breath. So if you're watching the breath at the abdomen, that's quite a big area. But if you look carefully, you'll see that there's a center point. It's a case of really driving your attention there and not expecting anything. Just this very, very childlike way of gazing, just looking. But behind it is this very, 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 very strong question mark. A real sense of curiosity. Am I seeing this breath as it is, or as my mind wants me to see it? As we penetrate the breath, then we begin to see its true nature. So I'm hoping that at interview you'll be able to tell me what that is. So this same process is with anything that we're experiencing. Even, see, when we're hearing something. See, now we know that a note, a single sound of one note, can only be hitting the ear at any one particular moment. But yet we can hear a tune as a progress. So you can see that the mind is constantly creating the world we're living in. Because from moment to moment, all there is an air pressure against the eardrum. So one thing you can do when you're listening to something, especially a sound which is fairly constant. So for instance, if you're meditating at home and you can hear the traffic, so you don't see it as a hindrance. Just ask yourself, what is the process of hearing? Because there's a whole process of mentation before you can actually recognize the sound. So this is that sense of curiosity, and it has to be balanced with a certain calmness. Now, if If the curiosity is already seeking something, you see, then the calmness will begin to disappear and you'll start getting restless. And on the other hand, if the calmness becomes greater than that sense of curiosity, that's when you fall asleep. So now, for somebody who's just beginning the practice, this might be a little bit difficult to grasp. But don't worry about it, because as you practice, you begin to recognize these things. Yeah. Now, the other quality is concentration. This is the ability of that attention, of that awareness to focus on something. And in order to do that, it needs a certain effort. So even when you're taking a photograph, the camera has to have an energy in it to focus. And when you're using binoculars, you have to have some energy to focus. So this focusing really draws all the energy of the mind onto a single point. And another word in the Pali for concentration is ekagata, which means going one way. So the danger here is that the concentration is driven by some desire to see something. And then you'll find yourself becoming quite restless, quite tight. And you may even find that your whole meditation just collapses. And you have to sort of take a long walk and then begin again, because there's just too much effort. So, and of course, if the concentration is good and the effort drops a little bit, then the meditator remains in a very correct posture, so that to anybody outside they would think, oh, now there's a meditator, but actually he's unconscious. And nothing is to be gained from that type of. It's often something that people experience when they're trying to practice these absorptions. In fact, there's a story about a Hindu sadhu who asked for some water, and then he went into this meditation, and he was in that state of concentrated oblivion for 10 years or more, who knows. And when he woke up, his words were, "Where's the water?" So this is, even for those of you who know, even in St. John of the Cross, in his work, he warns people against that sort of oblivion. But even so, it's a good sign to the meditator that, their concentration is really very good.
It's a good?
Yeah, it's a good sign because it shows their concentration is good. The effort is missing, but their concentration is good. Capito? Even so, it's a good sign to the meditator that their concentration is good. But what's missing, of course, is the right effort. What's missing is right effort. So here we have this effort of looking closely, the concentration, and the effort needed to keep it there, sustain it. Stamina.
La capacità di farlo per lungo.
Sì.
Stamina? È lo stesso è lo stesso. Sì? Sì. It doesn't matter.
Non importa.
It's just the ability to continue. And this comes with practice. It's just like a pumping iron, If you want big muscles, you just keep pumping iron.
Yeah.
So you've got these two, and then there comes this sense of curiosity, which is balanced with the calmness, and then you have this investigation, which has to have this equanimity. Now, you'll see that all these qualities are just natural to us. When you're doing something carefully, when you're doing a job carefully. So you have awareness, you have effort, you have concentration, you have curiosity and interest, and you're calm usually, unless you're stressed. So all these are natural qualities that we have. So what turns these towards factors of enlightenment is what it is we're investigating. And this is various things, for instance, the hindrances. But really the core of our insight is in the three characteristics of existence.
Sì.
So these are based on the idea of some eternal soul. Based on the idea of some eternal soul. Eternal soul. Eternal. So the Buddha's saying, the Buddha's asking us, if we have an eternal soul, what can it be? So the first thing he asks us to look at is impermanence. An eternal soul, by definition, can't be changing.
Yeah.
And in Buddhist psychology, everything is arising and passing away very, very minutely. So that's what we're looking. We're saying, well, you know, feelings, sensations in the body, emotions, thoughts, they're all arising and passing away. So they can't be my eternal soul. And then he says, well, surely if this eternal soul exists, it must be in charge of itself. It must have power over itself. But what we find in meditation is that the body just offers sensations, pain, and the heart seems to have its own life, and the head is mad. See? So how can it be that? And then there comes this whole problem of suffering. If my soul, my eternal soul should be able to say, I am no longer going to suffer, and that'd be the end of it. But the suffering keeps coming. So there's a big problem. We want to believe in something eternal, but where is it? Can it be within this psychophysical organism? So now here we come to the dilemma that the Buddha found himself. Because he says that there is something which is not born, not created, not conditioned. Is not born.
Non nato, non creato, non condizionato.
Not conditioned. But he doesn't want to give it a name. Because if he gives it a name, then people have a construct, a mental construct of it. And they go chasing this construct, which would only lead to a further delusion. I had a student once who had an amazing experience while sitting on the toilet. And he said to me that this was Nibbana. So I said, well, what was it like? And he described it as a really beautiful feeling, a sort of lifting of the heart, an opening up, and an amazing state of grace. And I said, well, were you aware of it? He said, yes. I said, well, it can't be that. If you're aware of something, it can't be you. Yeah, but he didn't believe me. He still thinks he's fully liberated. So this is something in him which is thinking Nibbana is something like this, you see. And so when he has an experience that he thinks Nibbana is, he then deludes himself to thinking that, yes, this is Nibbana. So how, you see, the Buddha's trying not to conceptualize this particular faculty which is experiencing Nibbana. So he keeps his descriptions mainly to what Nibbana is. Keeps his descriptions to the experience of Nibbana. And although he has many positive adjectives like the greatest happiness, peace, and all that, he also says that it's not describable. So you can see that our tendency is to have some idea and then to try and manifest that idea. So in that case, he takes us away from Nibbana. And he makes us look at and deconstruct what we're actually experiencing. He makes us look at...
The Buddha.
Yeah. And deconstruct what we're actually
Allora il Buddha si fa.
And out of this deconstruction, there arises that which is not constructed. So I'm making this very difficult, I know. So that's why equanimity is important. Yeah. So equanimity is that ability to come from a place of don't know. If not, the mind is then guided by a concept, and this also includes biases. prejudice, any aversions or fears, even preference. So that's why in our I meant to hand these out. Here we are. We'll give these out afterwards. That's why in this in the Vipassana guidelines, I've put here 4 different descriptions of awareness. 4 descriptions of awareness. Can you read that little square? Actually, well, there's only English speakers, so I'll read it and then you can translate from there. Yeah.
Okay.
So bare attentiveness, simply watching all that arises and passes away. Choiceless awareness that does not control or manipulate. Impartial observation that does not judge or question. No therapy. This intuitive introspection, fully experiencing each physical, emotional and mental event as it is, leads to the realization that everything is impermanent and insubstantial, and that to identify with or to become attached to anything whatsoever will bring dissatisfaction. Okay, so that's what this awareness is. Now, finally, how can the 7 factors of enlightenment be there when there's a lot of emotion in the heart, when there's a lot of restlessness in the body or the mind?
Nella mente.
Restlessness in the heart, mind and body. Yeah, and a lot of emotions. Okay, so this is where the Buddha points out that when we access that observation post within ourselves, all those faculties come back into the awareness. This awareness, remember, has 2 qualities, a passive and an active. The passive quality of receiving awareness, and that intuitive grasp which understands something immediately, which is nothing to do with thought. Although after an insight, this awareness uses thought to tell itself what it's just seen. So you don't lose any of the 7 factors of enlightenment when you are in the position clearly of the observer, the feeler, the one who knows. But at the beginning of your meditation, you might want to establish those various qualities. That's why we use the breath. It depends, 2 or 3 minutes, sometimes 5 or 10 minutes, when you feel the body becoming relaxed a bit more, and when you can feel a more steadiness of attention. So then you're gathering these 7 factors of enlightenment. As soon as you feel that you have that steadiness, then you open up to whatever draws your attention.
This is it.
That's it. Yes.
L'awareness passiva e attiva. La passiva è l'intuizione.
No, la passiva è sati, awareness. Panya, sati, panya, così. In the discourse on how to establish sati, 3 words always come together. Atapi sampajano satima, which means real energy, real effort, with intuitively and mindfully. That recurs throughout the discourse. I can only hope my words have been of some assistance, that I have not caused even greater confusion, that by your development of the 7 factors of enlightenment, you will be liberated from all suffering, sooner rather than later.
Sadhu, sadhu.